You are welcome. God bless you all. God bless you. Thank you for joining us. This is my confidence. You never fail me yet. Hallelujah. Okay, Father, take absolute control. We pray that Holy Spirit come and lead us and come and guide us. We pray your presence to be strong in Jesus' name. Hallelujah. I'm just going to go straight. We did the signs or the red flags to show that a child is going wayward. So I'm doing this because most of the time, many of the women or the parents that I'm speaking with whose children are going wayward or doing things they don't want to do, a lot of them didn't realize it earlier, even though the signs were clear, the signs were there, but they didn't know that these were the signs that their children were going wayward. So they took them for granted. And I did 10 points last week. I don't know, for some reason, it didn't come out. The recording didn't pick everything. It took only the first two points, and that's why I'm going over it again. So I'm just going to run through because I was supposed to do something else this week. But then some people were watching the video and they drew my attention that the video was cut. And I checked and I saw it. I don't know where the problem is coming from. And so I'm going to go over it again. And again, this is a discussion. So if you have any question, if you have any contribution, please go ahead and post it there and let all read it and let all benefit from that experience. And I will also want to encourage you to go ahead and share this video. The topic we are dealing with today is such an important topic for everyone. As we said it, everybody is a parent. Everybody is a parent. And we all need to know some of these red flags because, like I said, many parents don't detect it. If we are able to see early enough some of the things our children are doing, and we are able to know that these are signs that there's something wrong, these are signs that something is not right with my child, and we begin to address them early enough, we can save a whole situation. We can stop our children from going wayward. So it's a very, very important topic. And like I said, I tried to do some research and I never came across anything like that written or done by anybody. So please go ahead and share this video and let us be a blessing unto somebody else. As you share this video, you are blessing somebody else. So please go ahead and share this video. And I'm going to run quickly through the 10 points or the 10 signs. And I read an article, the author was not there. But hey, Joanna, where have you been? It's been ages. It's so strange. I was just thinking about you just a few minutes ago. It's very interesting. Anyway, it's good to see you. God bless you, Joanna. I hope everything is well. We bless God. All right. So the article said that as teens become more independent, they still lack emotional maturity they need to make informed, thoughtful decisions. The part of the brain that controls the decision-making and impulse haven't fully developed. The combination of autonomy and immaturity can lead to risky teen behaviors like drinking, smoking, sex, and all that. God bless you. God bless you, Joanna. Thank you so much. So we sometimes wonder, why is it that at a particular age, our children begin to do things we don't want them to do? Why do they begin to rebel at a certain age? Why they begin to make risky decisions and bad choices? And we talk to them and they don't understand. This is the reason. The reason is that as they get to that age, they think that somehow they are matured, because they believe that at that point, there are no more kids where we have to feed them, where we have to bathe them, where we have to take them to school, where we have to make certain decisions for them. So they think they are independent. They have to be on their own and they can make certain decisions. Unfortunately, at that time, when they think they are matured or they think they are of age and that they should be making certain decisions for themselves, making certain choices, the irony of it is that at that time, they still lack emotional maturity. They still need emotional maturity. They need to make informed and thoughtful decisions. And this is the reason. The reason is that the part of the brain that controls decision making, at that time, their frontal lobe, that part of the brain that has to make the decision, is not fully developed. And because of that, they can't make wise and good decisions. The combination of their autonomy, thinking that they have reached, they are of age and they have to be allowed to make their own decision, combined with the fact that they are really not matured at that point to make that decision, can lead them to make wrong decision, not just wrong decision, but risky decision that can cause their life, that can affect their future and all that. And so, even though when they get to that stage, they expect that we should allow them the autonomy, we should allow them the freedom to make their own decision, to make their own choices. We can't do that because we know that much as they want to, or much as we want to as parents, they are not there yet. And every parent, please, let's listen carefully. They will give you all the implication or all the indication that, oh, I can do this, I'm old enough, I can make that decision, I can do this. But that is a deception. They don't know that their brain at that point, the part of the brain that makes the decision is not matured yet for them to make right decisions. And so we still have to guide them through. And so we started talking about what are some of the things that you see, and you have to be alert. You have to know that if this thing is happening to my child, then there could be a sign that something is happening. And please go ahead and share this video. Please go ahead and share this video and let's help other people. Let us be a blessing. And if you have any contribution, go ahead and type it. Hallelujah. The first point we talked about was that when you see that your child is dropping academically, it's a strong sign. You see, anytime children get to that age and they are being occupied by wrong things, they are drifting away from doing right things, education or academic work, they lose interest in academic work and they are no longer interested in doing well in their school work. So for instance, your child was maybe having A's and B's, and all of a sudden you see that the child has dropped drastically from A's to C, from D. And it's not only in one subject, it's not only in one area, but you see that happening in 2 subjects, you see that happening in 3 subjects. You don't have to take it for granted. There are times a child might drop, but the drop shouldn't be that significant. And if it's just from A to B or from B to C, then you know that, okay, so it's not all that serious. And if it's just one subject, but when it cuts across all the subjects, and you see that the change, the drop is significant, it's likely that your child there's something else that is occupying him or her at that time. And that thing is taking away the desire for academic excellence. And that is why academically the child is not doing well. So when you see signs like that, don't take them for granted. Begin to find out. Begin to call the school. And I said sometimes when you see signs like that and you call the school, you'll be surprised the things that you hear from the school. They'll begin to tell you a lot of things that is going on with your child's life. And sometimes you are not even aware of some of these things. But when you call, the principal or the guidance or the headmaster or wherever you are calling from will be able to give a lot of information at that time that you, the parent, you are not even aware of. So please, that is a clear sign that your child might be drifting into something dangerous. So take note. And the second thing is when you see that your child is losing interest in an activity that the child was so much interested in. So for instance, we have good recreational activities like sports, maybe soccer, maybe basketball, volley, football, and these are very useful and good sports. And your child was very enthusiastic about them, just had the interest and wanted to do, and all of a sudden, you see that the interest has declined. The child no longer doesn't have interest in going, to play that game, going for practice, and the child will begin, giving you excuses. But when you see that the excuses are persistent, and the child is not just missing practice once or twice, but the interest is just going down completely, don't assume that, oh, maybe the child just doesn't like it. Why is it that the child was so much interested in that particular sport and all of a sudden the interest is not there? The truth is, and from talking to a lot of people, it is obvious that most of the time when children are going wayward, they are not interested in sport and such activities. Something else occupies them. They are not interested. So when you begin to see that, chances that something bad or something wrong is happening might be high. So you don't want to take it for granted. You want to follow through. God willing, next week we'll be talking about how to treat your children who are, going wayward, who are drifting, who are doing things you don't want to see them doing. And we'll talk about some of the approaches to use when we get there. The third thing we talked about is that when you see that your child is losing complete interest in school, the child doesn't want to go to school. Anytime you mention school, the child is not happy. But this was a child who loved so much to go to school. And all of a sudden, when it's Friday, the child is so happy because there is no school tomorrow. There's no school Sunday. Sunday evening, the child is not happy because there's school on Monday. And it continues like that. There are so many reasons why the child doesn't want to go to school. Anytime the child has to go to school, the child will pretend to be sick. The child will come out with excuses. Oh, I have heard, especially where the child goes to school on his own or her own. He has to go by the bus or has to walk to the school, especially when the child is going to school and nobody is at home. That makes it easier for them. They wait, pretend they are going. When everybody leaves the house, they stay back, they don't go. And sometimes you might not even know this is happening for a long time. If you are fortunate to be at a place where as soon as your child is absent from school, the school will give you a call to alert you that your child didn't come. Then you begin to find out, why is it that you didn't go to school? The child might find excuses. I had headache and that is why I didn't go. Or I had stomach pain, that is why I didn't go to school. But if it persists, you want to follow up and find out, why is it that all of a sudden your child is not going to school? Your child is no longer interested in school. Anything about school, the child doesn't seem to be interested. Find out. The tendency that the child is going wayward could be there. That is only one reason, but there are other reasons why a child all of a sudden will lose interest in school. One of them could be bullying. Anytime a child is being bullied at school by friends, by peer, it's one strong factor. You see that the child doesn't want to go to school because bullying is something that no child can stand. And sometimes they can't even share with parents. And the only way they want to run away from it is by staying out of school. So that could also be. But clearly, many children, when they are going wayward, when they are drifting, they don't want to have anything to do with school. So that is a very strong sign. And then please go ahead and share this video because the topic we are discussing is very, very important. There are so many parents who are crying right now because they didn't get this information and their children are way out of their control right now. So please, if you are listening and watching me, I am asking you to please go ahead and share this video. You might save somebody's life. You might save a child. You might save a parent. So please share this video and bless somebody. And that was a third. The fourth point is, when you begin to receive telephone calls from your child's school, or you begin to receive letters from your child's school that the child is getting into trouble in school, and it's becoming frequent, every day the school will call you, your child is not handing in his homework, your child came to class late, your child is very disrespectful in class, your child will talk back at the teachers. When teachers talk, your child doesn't obey. Your child is refusing to obey simple instructions, in class. Your child is having problems with almost every teacher. Your child is having problems with everybody, even friends, colleagues. Your child is disturbing in class. When classes are going on, your child is always talking on top of the voice, and they can't control. When you begin to get reports like that from your school, watch out. Don't ignore them. There are strong signs that your child is on, doing something that is not right. These are clear signs, and it's unfortunate that most of the time they begin misbehaving in school before eventually we begin to see those signs at home. And by the time we are seeing it at home, it has already advanced to a level that sometimes we might not be able to step in immediately and to turn situations around. When they start doing these things in school, they are already involved in other things. That is why they begin to be disrespectful to their teachers. They begin to cause a lot of problems. So sometimes when you receive letters or phone calls, and sometimes they'll call you, we need to have a meeting with you because your child is putting up certain behaviors we don't want. We are talking to her or him, and there's no change. Can you come to school for a meeting? When you begin to receive calls like that for meetings, you begin to receive calls about your child's attendance and not handing in homework, late handing in of homework, challenging teachers and all that. You want to be very aggressive at, trying to find out the root cause. Why is your child misbehaving in school? Why is your child always getting in trouble in school? Why are they calling you to give you complaints and all that? Something definitely is going on, and you want to find out. You don't want to take it for granted. You don't want to assume that teachers just don't like your child. A lot of time, that's what we see, especially when the child comes home and is behaving well, everything is fine. We don't even assume that our children will go to school and do that. But trust me, with experience, I've seen a lot of parents who were shocked and who were surprised to go to school and receive certain reports about their children. They were like, are you really talking about my child? What are you saying? I mean, because it's like the child, has two faces. It's two persons in one. Because the child you see at school is completely different from the child at home. And the things the child is doing in school, you don't see the child doing anything like that at home. So sometimes when we begin to receive reports like that, we rather begin to blame the teachers. They are just picking on my child. Why are they just lying for my child? And the children too will be very defensive, telling you that they never did it. It's not true, it's wrong. So you might think that the teachers are really, trying to pick on your child and trying to cause problems for your child. And if you are not careful, you rather end up having problems with the teachers. But the truth is, all the teachers cannot be faking or cannot be lying or cannot be picking on your child. All the teachers cannot be having similar complaints about your child. So when you are receiving and it's not just one, it's not just twice, it's not just coming from one teacher, it's not just about one complaint, you don't want to take it for granted. Something is happening. It's a strong sign that the child is drifting, the child is going wayward, and you want to step in immediately and see how you can rectify the situation. And the fifth point, and this is for us Christians, we begin to see sometimes when our children grow to a certain age, sometimes the children lose interest in church activities. And at times we just say that, You know, when they grow up to this point, because there are other activities, they are busy, they don't really want to go to church, it's okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. A child who was, you know, brought up in the church, grew up in the Sunday school, is actively involved in youth activities, and all of a sudden, that child doesn't want to go to church. And it starts gradually. One day they will get up and they'll tell, oh, today I really don't feel fine. I have some headache. I don't feel like going to church. And you might say, okay, it's just once, no problem. And then next week they go, but another week they find another excuse. Oh, I have too much assignment. They gave me a lot of homework. And tomorrow is Sunday. Tomorrow is Monday. I don't think I'll be able to finish. So I want to stay back and finish my homework. But this really never happened earlier on. So all of a sudden, these excuses are coming up. The next time the child comes with another excuse, oh, my school, we decided that our friend is having a birthday, something, and we are having a hangout, so we want to go. And it's on a Sunday, but you should have known that on Sunday you go to church. But this time the child feels like it doesn't matter. And usually when you want to tell them, no, we need to go to church, they are like, oh, but it doesn't matter. It's not just about church. After all, we are Christians. I always pray if I don't go to church once. That is the time they begin to think that they know. And they begin to have answers to every question. And they begin to argue back and try to justify what they are doing. But when it becomes often, I mean, it repeats itself. And it becomes like a regular thing that the child always wants to stay back when you are going to church. You don't want to take it for granted. And sometimes even youth activities, Christian youth activities, and Christian summer programs and things like that, it's like they don't want to hear anything about that. It's not just because they have grown, but something is happening. Why is it that all of a sudden, somebody who used to be in a Sunday school, used to sing and act drama and all that, now they don't want to do all that? And we have to look into it when we see things like that and address them. We don't just have to say, oh, okay, it doesn't matter. And sometime by the time we realize it has escalated to a level that is beyond our control. Please go ahead and share this video. If you are watching, if you are listening to me, let's share this video and bless other people. Let's share this video and bless other people. Every parent needs to listen to this. And I said everybody is a parent. We are all parents. Whether you are a biological parent, whether you are a foster parent, whether you are a spiritual parent, whether you are a teacher, whether you are a counselor, whatever role you play, you are a parent. We are all parenting in some way. And we all need to know these signs so that the children that are around us, the children that God has given them to us, when we begin to see some of these signs, we will be able to take the right measures at the right time to save them. So please go ahead and share this video and be a blessing to someone. God bless you. And that was number 5.5, and I'm moving on to point 6. Point 6, and that is when you begin to see that your child's attitude, the way of dressing, communication, and a lot of things about the child, you see that it's changing negatively. Sometimes we know that when they grow up to a certain age, they become more fashionable. You can't even buy clothes for them at that point because they don't like anything you buy for them. They have a different taste and they see us to be outmoded, archaic. Fine. But then if we see that they are dressing in a way that is not too good, and then, for instance, you have a daughter and all of a sudden the daughter is going out and is virtually dressed half naked and is going out. And it's justified. It doesn't matter. It's about the heart, you know. It's not, but you know the child. You know the values that you have instilled in that child. You know what you stand for in that home. And all of a sudden you begin to see things like that. You have to get worried a bit and begin to find out what is going on. And see, usually when we see all these signs and we begin to probe into it, we begin to explore, we begin to ask questions, we begin to find out, we begin to follow up. That is when we get to know that there are a lot of things that are going on that we are not aware. And that what you just saw was just a small sign of the actual thing that is taking place. then we begin to know that our children are doing something else, or they are into a different level altogether, but we are not aware. And that was just a sign. So it's very important for us that when we see these things, we don't take them for granted. If you have a son and all of a sudden the son is singing some kind of songs in the house, and you know that was not the songs, and those are the songs that he just want to play and play and play. I mean, of course, it's true that these days they want certain kind of music, but we also know that there is a limit, there is a boundary. So you know, if the child is going way beyond the boundaries in terms of dressing, in terms of look, in terms of other behaviors, and the child is going way beyond the boundary level, you want to find out why is it that my child all of a sudden is doing all this. They are all signs that the child might be drifting away. The child might be even drifting away from the faith, from the family values. The child is going wayward. Some things are happening inside that you don't know. So you want to make sure that you don't take these things for granted. Please go ahead and share this video if you are watching. Go ahead and share it and be a blessing to somebody. There are a lot of parents that I'm counseling right now. If you know the pain that they are going through, you have no idea. And maybe you don't have children who are at that age, so you really don't understand what we are talking about. But whatever it is, just listen, because if your children are not grown, one day you will understand. You will always remember this, because every parent somehow goes through some of these things, if not even fully. The good news is that some parents are able to detect them early enough, and so they save their kids from going wayward. Unfortunately, others parents don't get these signs early enough, or they don't understand them, and their children end up at places and in situations that nobody wanted them to be there. And we don't want this to continue. We want to make sure that at least somebody will hear this, and even if it's just one child that will be saved from going wayward, I believe that that will be very good. So please go ahead and share, because you will never know. As we speak now, there's a parent there who is handling a teenager who is going through some of these things, and the parent is crazy and is mad and is crying and doesn't know what to do. And maybe when that parent watches this video, it will be a help to that parent. The parent will know that, well, there is a way out. It's not too late. God is still in control. When I know these signs, this is what I have to do. This is what I have to do. So please go ahead and share this video. Share it on your timeline. Share it to somebody. Share it messenger, wherever. But please go ahead and share it, and let us bless other people. The 7th point is that anytime you begin to smell alcohol or cigarette or any kind of drug on your children, don't ignore it. Don't ignore it. Anytime you begin to smell alcohol, cigarette, whatever, and sometimes you see, and when it gets to that age, the children are very, very smart. They are so smart that when you even see them doing any of these things, and you confront them, they are not just going to accept it and say, oh yes, I'm doing this. No, they will always come out with very strong and beautiful and nice excuses to cover up, to try to cover up what they are doing. And that is why when you are trying to find out from them, you don't just take anything they tell you. It's not like you don't trust them, but to tell you the truth, as a parent, you don't want to take any risk by saying, I trust my child so much, that you just take everything they tell you. From experience, it doesn't work. It doesn't work, because at that point, it's not like they are bad children or something, but they believe that what they are doing is right, and they know you don't like it. So if you get to know it, you are going to stop them from doing it. You are going to take their pleasure away from them. So they want to still maintain what they are doing and still have your approval or whatever. So they will not come and tell you that, yes, I'm smoking or I'm drinking alcohol. So they have to tell you something to let you think that, oh, yeah, they are really not doing it. And in that case, you leave them. And your mind is not even there. Then they can go ahead and do it. But by the time, you get to know it, they are deep into it. They are addicted, and they can't come back. So usually when you see them, they will come out with a lot of excuses. Somebody will tell you, oh, I smoked cigarette because I sat in a car with these guys and they were all smoking and I was in the car. That's why I smell like this. Let me go and change my dress. And you might think that is true because you've never saw your child smoke, and the way you have raised your child, it's not something that you even expect. It's the last thing. I mean, it's the last thing. So when he tells you that, you take it. When she tells you that, you take it. And let me say it again here that I said it, that most of the people that I'm counseling right now and I'm praying with, they are not people who are outside the church. These are people in the church, and they are not just pew warmers. These are leaders in the church. These are people who preach in the church. These are people who lead Bible studies in the church. These are people who are prayer warriors in the church. These are people who are counseling and all that. Yet their children are doing these things. So when I'm talking, let us stop imagining that it's some fiction or it's some story from somewhere. These are things that are happening. They are real in the churches. The only difference is that you might be sitting next to somebody whose child is doing some of these things, whose child is wayward, and you are praying with that person, you are talking to the person, and you will never know. Because like I said last week, many parents don't want to open up to these things because it's very embarrassing to talk about it. It's very shameful to talk about it. It's very painful to talk about it. The pain as a parent to talk about the father, you are a Christian mother, you are a Christian father, and to say or tell somebody that your child is wayward, is doing some of these things. The pain and the guilt. You feel guilty talking about it. And because of these reasons, parents are not talking about them, but we are with them in the church. I'm telling you, they are with us. They are with us. And nobody knows. And they are trying to cover it. They are trying to hide it. The painful thing is that things like that, you can't cover it for long. You can't nurse it for long. You can't cover it for long. It gets worse and worse if you don't really address it and find help and pray and see how you can resolve the issue. It rather gets worse, and it gets to a point where you can't hide it anymore from your church members or from people. So it's happening all over, but we are not hearing from them because everybody is silent about it. But I'm dealing with a lot of them, and they are all people from the church. So it's not only outsiders. Please go ahead and share this video, and let's bless people. And so like I said, if your child comes home smelling alcohol or cigarette, the child will find an excuse that, oh, I sat in a car and they were smoking. That's why I smell alcohol. That's why I smell cigarette. Your child might come home smelling alcohol, and he will find a very nice excuse that, oh, this my friends, all of them were drinking alcohol, beer, and I was with them. And they were even pouring some. Somebody even poured some on my dress. You see how this place is wet? It's the beer. That's why I smell beer. It's not true. They are just trying to take your mind away from that. So when you get that information, don't say okay and don't be satisfied. It doesn't mean that you don't trust your child, but you just want to be very careful. You want to just make sure that you are not taking anything for granted. So when your child goes out, that is the time you sneak into the child's room. That's the time you begin to look at the vantage point and look. And sometimes you'll be surprised at things you will find in your child's room. You will be shocked that you are living under the same roof with that child. And the things that you will pick them from that room, you won't believe it. And a lot of people, when I talk to them, they said, I never knew until one day I went and I came and I saw him smoking in the house. By the time you see your child smoking in the house, the child has been smoking for many months or weeks or even a year before you will catch your child smoking in the house. A lot of times when they start, they would dare not come to the house. They do it outside and come, and do it outside and come. And before you are catching your child smoking in the house, it's likely that the child has already started doing it long ago and you didn't know. So when you begin to smell alcohol or cigarette or any kind of drug on them, go to their room, do a lot of research, begin to ask questions, begin to open your eyes, begin to watch them. begin to look for other signs. You are not saying that you distrust, that you don't trust your children, but you also want to be sure that as a parent, you are not being negligent. You are not just taking things for granted, but you are on top, making sure that you are doing what, excuse me, you are supposed to do. Search through the room and everything. You might find something and follow up. And especially if it's not only once, the child comes another time and you can smell cigarette or alcohol. The child says, oh, mommy, daddy, you know what? When I was coming in, I was at the train station. And then this man came to sit by me, and he looked like a homeless man and was smoking. And I wanted to be courteous, so I didn't want to just walk away from him. So I was sitting and he was smoking over me. That's why, they will always come out with something. Say, okay, but you see, sometimes when you begin to ask certain questions, they begin to give you answers, and you see that their answers are not even adding up. And that alone tells you, I always tell kids that, you see, the Nigerians have a saying that what a grown-up or an elderly person will see sitting down, a young person will even climb the tallest building and will not see. So what we are saying is that with experience, sometimes when a child is not being truthful, you can tell that something is not right. She's not giving you the right information. And when you begin to get things like that, don't just brush them off, but you want to follow through. And by the time you are smelling alcohol or drugs on your child, you want to know that, especially if it's not once, if it's not twice, and the child comes home, and also look at the eyes. The child always comes home with the eyes are tired and red. And the child said, oh, we went to here and I was so tired because I was with my friends for a long time and I'm tired. That's why my eyes are red. And the next time the child comes again, the eyes are red. The eyes looks tired. 2-3 times, it's enough to alarm you to know that, no, something is going wrong. So these are all signs. These are all signs. So when you see them, what do you do as a parent? You follow up. You follow up. Ask questions. Begin to watch carefully. Begin to, there are times your child might even tell you that I'm going here. And sometimes you have to wait. And when the child goes, follow the child. Either you are driving or walking. You have to do a lot of because you can't just assume that everything he's saying is right. And you can't also assume that he's telling you lies. So you have to find out things, for yourself. And that will mean that you might have to ask questions around. Sometimes you might have to go to the school and find out certain things. And then the teachers might give you some information that will confirm what you have seen. So let's be on top. And the 8th point is when you see that your child is hanging up with wrong people. And here I'm not saying that somebody's child is bad, but I believe that as a parent, you have your own values that you want to instill on your children. And you have a way that you are training your children. There is a way you want your child to grow up to be. So you are giving your child certain values. And if you see your child hanging up with people who have opposite values with what you share, it is a sign that all is not well. Because ideally, a child coming from a home with certain values, you go out, you want to hang up with people who share similar values with you. So if you see that your child is hanging up with people who share complete opposite values, then that is a sign that your child is not hanging up with the wrong person. So I don't want to say somebody's kid is bad, no. But just look at your values, what you stand for. If your child is hanging up, and the signs are so clear, you know. So for instance, if your child, a teenager, is hanging up with friends who smoke, and you know that it's not something you approve of. Your family, you don't like that. I mean, it's something that you stand against. And your child is hanging up with people who are smoking. Yeah, you don't need an angel to tell you that your son or your daughter is not in the right company. There's a saying that, show me your friend and I'll show you your character. And there's another adage that goes, birds of the same feathers flock together. So when people are together, and there's a Bible quotation that says that, how can the two work together unless they agree? So how can you be working together with people who are smoking, who are dressed naked, who are drinking alcohol, who are insulting grown-ups, who are disrespectful to teachers, who don't have any good morals, and you think that you can hang up with people like that, and you don't have the same values, you don't agree with what they are doing, sooner or later, they are going to convert you into their group, or you are going to convert them. But there's always a strong tendency that when you are in a company like that, the negative influence is stronger, and they can pull you faster than you can pull them. And so it's very risky to think that you can hang up with people like that and you will still, come out neat. So as a mother, as a father, when you see that your child is hanging up with wrong people, and I've defined what wrong people means, people who don't share the same values with you, people who go contrary to your values, and you see them. So if your child is hanging up with people like that, it's a serious sign. That one means that you really have to get up and begin to find out who is your friend. Why is this person your friend? What do you think about the person? What do you talk about? That is where you want to do a lot of talking. You want to do a lot of, and I believe that at that point, if talking is not even helping, you want to look for external help. And you see, the sad thing is that because it's a topic that nobody wants to talk about, nobody wants to tell people that my child is going wayward, my child is hanging up with bad people, we don't look for help. But sometimes if we reach out and ask for help, people will help us, because you are not that's the thing. You are not the only parent who is going through that. Other parents are going through it, and maybe they have found a way of dealing with that situation. Or somebody might have even gone through that years ago and found a solution. When you reach out to people like that, they might be able to help you. And trust me, it can help for you. But because we don't want to talk about it, you have seen that your son or your daughter is treading on a dangerous ground. You see your child is heading towards fire. You see your child is going to danger. But we don't want to tell anybody. And we think we can fix it. We are doing the talking and it's not helping. There are times you might need external help. There are times you might have to talk to other people. There are times you might have to reach out. And much as, it's painful, it's better to reach out and get help than, covering it up and getting the solution, getting worse and worse and worse. So when you see your children hanging out with the wrong people, you look at them, the way they are dressed, their language, their behavior, and those signs, you don't need to wear any glasses to see them. They are so visible, they are so clear. When you see them, you know it, and you are not comfortable with your child hanging out with those people, because it tells you where your child is going. Better begin to move quickly. That is the 8th point. Please share this video if you are watching me. Let's share it and bless people. And again, if you have any contribution, please go ahead and post it there. Type it. If you have any question, go ahead and type it. If you have any contribution, whether you're personal or something you have experienced from somewhere, or you read something, please go ahead and share it, and let's all benefit from that experience. I've said so many things, but maybe I left something out. Maybe there's some sign that you have noticed that I haven't mentioned it. You can please go ahead and type it. And please go ahead and share this video. Share it on your timeline. Share it on your friend's timeline. Share it on Messenger. Share it to every parent. Every parent needs to know this. It's so, so important. God bless you as you share. And the 9th point is that when you begin to see your child lying, unless of course your child has always been lying, but if all of a sudden you see that your child begins to tell lies, your child begins to tell lies, your child begins to tell lies. And like I said, God has given parents that motherly or fatherly instinct. There are certain things nobody has to tell you, but it comes from inside. It's an instinct. When your child is telling lies, you can tell that the child is telling lies. Sometimes you don't want to let them know you are telling lies because You are just giving them the benefit of the doubt, even though you know that what they are saying doesn't add up. Sometimes you know they are telling lies, but they will argue and try to prove to you how, it's not lies and all that. But the bottom line is, when your child begins to start lying, you will know as a parent, you will definitely know that the child is telling lies. And if it's consistent, it's not just one time lies, it's not just twice, but you see that your child these days is lying. That means there is something the child is hiding. What is it that the child is trying to hide? Why is it that all of a sudden the child is not giving you the right information? Why is it that all of a sudden the child is choosing to tell you what is not the truth? So that should be alarming enough to let you know that something is going on. There could be so many reasons why the child all of a sudden is lying. But one of the reasons is that the child could be going wayward. That is why he's lying. It might be that the child is not going wayward, but there are other reasons, or there could be another reason why the child is lying. But whatever the case is, it will not be a good sign when you see your child lying. There's certainly something going on, and that thing is not positive. Because if there's nothing to hide, the child will not lie. If everything is going on well, the child will tell you what is actually the case. He or she does not need to lie. So anytime you detect that your child is lying, don't take it for granted. Explore, follow up, find out why is a child lying. And you'll be surprised the things that you find out. And my final point, and please go ahead and share this video. The 10th and the final sign or a red flag that your child is either drifting or backsliding, did I say backsliding? Drifting or going wayward, is when your child now begins to challenge authority. And this time it's not only at the school, but at home. You see, when they start at the school level for a long time and they keep doing, it gets to a time they now become so comfortable doing that, they become so used to it. So before they realize, they are doing it at home. And by the time your child begins to challenge your authority, your child begins to argue with you, your child begins to disrespect you, that means that a lot has been going on all this while. But as the accounts will say, you have been inside. What it simply means is that you are there, but you have been very ignorant of a lot of things that is going on with your child. Because by the time the child is beginning to challenge your authority, and that is where children are very aggressive at home, they will not obey your rules. They will break the curfew. You tell them when you go out, you have to be home at 8. At that time, they go home and they come at 12. And you can't do anything. And I was saying that the sad thing about it is, especially those of us in the, Western countries, you can't tell, if it's other place, you say, okay, if you don't want to obey my rules, you can't live under my roof, find your place. You can't do that here if the child is not yet 18. If the child is below 18, whatever the child does, you still have the responsibility of, as a parent, to give the child shelter, give the child food, give the child education. And failure to do that, you will find yourself in a serious trouble. And whatever the child says in these countries, the child is always right. I'm a social worker and I work with populations like that, and I know the child is always right. Whatever the child says, they don't even investigate. You are in trouble. So because of that, if you find yourself in a country like this and your child begins to misbehave, you are in a serious trouble, because you can't discipline the child. In Africa, you know our ways of disciplining. Some are too harsh, but to tell you the truth, some of them really worked. Some of them worked for us. We went through those kind of discipline, and it worked for us. You will not even stand in front of your father and speak back. No, you wouldn't try it. You would just not even try that. No. You don't want to. Because before you land, you are seeing stars. They have the negative aspect, but I believe that sometimes they also work. So I don't want to condemn it outright. But all I'm saying is that here you can't use some of those disciplinary measures because you will, I mean, and here, before the children know 911, they know what number to call. And I have seen a lot of parents, especially African parent immigrants here, their children have called the police on them. And we have a lot of cases going on like that, where the children did something, they wanted to discipline it. The children took the phone and called, and they came. And like I said, the child is always right. So the parents are in trouble as I speak with you now. There are a lot of cases, you hear them, and it's so, so sad. And the family is ruined completely because they wanted to discipline, and the child called the police, and they come in. And we, the social workers, when we go in, we are on the child's side, and we are doing everything for the child. And sometimes I go to, I'm handling cases like that with African parents, and I'm standing and I'm like, my God. And I have to do my work as a social worker. Sometimes you have to take the kids from the parents because of the report you have received from the child. And the family is ruined, is separated completely. But that is how it is here. And that is why it is very difficult, to discipline children at that level. So you have to find out the appropriate way of handling that. And God willing, next week, I'll be talking about how to handle wayward children, how to handle children who are rebelling, how to handle children who at that age are beginning to rub shoulders with you. What do we do? Because some of the approaches are not working for us. So when you see that your child is beginning to challenge authority in the house, disobeying rules, wants to do whatever he or she wants, doesn't respect the parent, does everything, that tells you the child has gone way far. Because that is one of the most, I think the most, the latest thing you see them do when a child is going away, when a child is drifting. And especially when the child comes from a home where there is respect, where the morals, in the house are so strong, the family have instilled that morals in the child, and you see a child, beginning to disrespect, beginning to be rude, beginning to rebel, beginning to challenge authority in a certain way. And, people will tell you that at that age, children rebel. It's at that age, it's okay for a child to rebel. But I also believe that there is a limit. There are boundaries. A child will rebel, but to what extent? You can't sit down for a child to go and do certain things. So they say it is the rebellion stage. I agree. But I also believe that a child living in a home with your parent, there has to be the boundaries. We have to set our boundaries right. And if the child is going way beyond the boundaries, it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. You have to see that something is not right. And that is when you have to step in. I just hope and I believe that this one is recorded, because I did the same thing last week. Did all the 10 topics and it wasn't recorded. And I didn't even check because I have so much to do. I posted it and somebody drew my attention that she was watching the video and it just cut off. And I checked and I realized that the thing was not completely recorded. So I don't know whether I said everything and then it didn't record, or I was cut off in the middle. I don't know, but I see people still logging on. So I trust that I'm still on. It's still live. It's working. And I hope I'll be able to record it. So I have given you 10 signs. There might be more that I don't know, but this is just to guide you. And as a mother, as a father, if you begin to see some of these things, it doesn't mean your child is bad. It doesn't mean your child is terrible, but it's just a sign that something is not going on well. So you need to quickly step in and address and see how you can save your child back. If we don't see these signs, or if we ignore these signs, that is where the danger comes. That is where our children will now end up going to do the excess and doing things and going way beyond our reach and our control. And that becomes a big issue for us. Nobody wants to. And like I said, God forbid, nobody wants your child to go wayward. Nobody wants to see your child in a situation like that. But the truth of the matter is, It is happening. And it's not happening to people outside, but it's happening to people in the church. It's happening to people's, parents who go to church, tithe payers, tongue speakers, preachers, counselors. It's happening to their children. So if it's happening to their children, it doesn't mean that all these parents didn't do their bad parent. No, but it could be that we didn't know that these were signs, and we ignored them, and we just took them for granted, or it's part of their growing age, and we ignored them. And before we realized, things were out of our hands. Nobody wants this to happen, and we pray that none of our children will go wayward. God forbid. But we also have to, make sure that we know what to do as parents, so that we can even avoid, in case something like that is going to happen, we can step in quickly and we can avoid that. And these are the 10 points. God willing, next week we are going to see. Like I said, we don't want it to happen, but it's happening. So for instance, God forbid, but if it happens, what do you do? Because that is another place that we have serious problem. You see parents crying, parents want to commit suicide, parents can't believe me, my child, how can my child be doing drugs? Me, how can my child be doing this? It's not possible. And God, what happened? No, hey, relax. And by doing that, we even spoil the whole matter, and we push them further and further away. So there is nothing like you are too good for your child to go through that or whatever. We all pray that God help us so that we don't experience it, because I tell you, it's one of the most painful things a parent will go through, and nobody wants to go through that. But God forbid, if it happens, you find yourself in that situation, the approach is very important, because what you do at that time will either spoil matters, make matters worse, or can bring your prodigal child back home intact. That is what we want to do. That even if it has happened, all is not lost. There is still hope. God can still bring them back. So join me, God willing, next week tomorrow, as we look at ways to handle our wayward and our rebellion children. And I pray for somebody that any child that has gone out of your control, as we go through this topic, may the power of God break that child loose and bring your child back home. God bless you so much. Go ahead and share this video and help a family somewhere, help a mother somewhere, help a father somewhere, and let's help bring a child somewhere home. Let's help stop a child from going wayward. You can do that. I'm doing my part by studying all this, going through all this, and sharing it with you. You have your part to play, and it's as simple as that. Share this video, and lives will be impacted. God bless you. It's always my delight. It's always my delight. It's always an honor to come and talk to you. And I bless God for your life. God willing, I'll see you again next week, Thursday. Until then, stay blessed and continue to do what you are doing as a mother and as a father. Bye-bye.